We'll let the weaving begin. First up, we're going to need 8 pieces of wire to create the matrix, so we'll cut those first. So I'm going to try not to kink this wire, unwind it. Straighten it. All right, and we'll do, they need to be basically as long as the board is tall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, set aside the rest of this for the sense wire later on. We'll need 4 of these to start with. These are going to be the horizontal wires first. So take, bend, gentle bend about, I don't know, 10 millimeters, 3/8 of an inch. And that's going to go through the back side through each of the 4 of these YL0 or YL0, 1, 2, 3, 4s. So they're round holes, not to be confused with the sense wires, the S1 and the S2. So I'm just going to hold that in position there. Come in with a little bit of solder, pre-tinned, and all I'm going to do is just basically anchor that wire. I'm not looking to make an electrical connection at this point. Just want to anchor it so it doesn't fall through. Oops. There's that one. Because the goal is just that they're going to stand up nice and straight, which makes it easy to drop the cores on. Bend this. Bend all these. Not a sharp bend, like not over a sharp edge or anything. I'm just bending them, I don't know, maybe over the tip of my finger is a safe way to do it. From the back side, drop it through. It wants to fall all the way through because it's not bent sharp. Okay. Just gonna, again, a little bit of solder there. That holds it in position. Not the sense 2 hole, the YL0 or YL1 hole. Solder. Hold that in position. Guess I need more solder. YL0. Okay. You know, some flux would really help. Well, golly. Why not? Okay, now we've got the 4 wires standing up through here. Straighten them out gently so they're not crossed over each other. Okay, tweezers. Drop 4 cores on each wire. 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And good, there's 4 left because there was 20 in the package. So set those aside. Okay, now that those are all on there, we can double check. And gently bend the wire down to go through the opposite hole. And before you bend it too tight, make sure you get the cores up away from the circuit board so that they don't get pinched between the wire and the circuit board where this is gonna bend and turn away from the board. Doing that now. Okay, so now they're floating over the middle-ish area, and I can just tighten the wire from the bottom side, straighten it out. There we go. So they're all kind of floating in the middle. This gently over. And we'll solder the backside opposite corners just to provide a little bit of mechanical holding power. Low flux. Should have done that for all these before I did this. Okay, plenty of flux. Now, just a little bit of a mechanical fastening with solder on the ends. Put a little more on each end, or on the other ends too. There we go. Okay, now they're all secure. We don't have good tension on them yet, but at least they're secure. And I'll attempt to get a little bit more tension on these. So pull gently, heat up that joint. Cool. Pull gently. Okay, that should be pretty good. Yeah, they're looking good. Splay the wires outward, so when I set it down, they bend outward. Just easier to pull in that direction. Okay, now time for the vertical wires. See I got a kink in this one, so I'm going to save. I'm not going to put that through first. I'm going to put the nice clean end through first. First, the way that these, there's a certain pattern you have to orient the cores as we go through this. And first of all, I'm just going to get one core into these pockets up front. I'm going to start on the left side. And this core here needs to be oriented diagonal like this. And the second core up will be diagonal this way, third core this way, and fourth core this way. And we're just going to keep alternating that pattern all the way across. So we're going to end up with the outer 4 at diagonals to the box, basically, that's created by this. This one will be like this, and this one will be like this. And the reason for this pattern is because it makes the weaving of the sense wire much easier. All right, so tiny, like half the distance between two wires. That's the length of this tiny little bend that I'm putting in the end here. A soft bend without a kink. And this helps in orienting the cores as you go through. It's not quite enough. So first one, because we're trying to orient it diagonal like this, come in from this side. Attempt to, I mean. All right, so that one's through. And as this comes in, when it gets in line here, you can see that this one is diagonally oriented this direction. Then you can twist the wire, come at the next core the opposite way. And that'll continue the pattern. So now that one is oriented this direction. Back the other way. That one ends up being diagonal this direction. Twist the wire the other way. And now catch this one. All right. So now just double checking. It's easy to get this wrong. Diagonal this way, opposite, opposite, and then this one is across this direction in the corner, which is how it's supposed to be. We can take and turn the wire down, run it through that XT0 hole, just kind of dragging, pulling some through. The tweezers kind of rolls up on the back side, but about ½ inch sticking out, and about a ½ inch left. Hold this down, turn this up, put it through this hole, and then grab the back side, pull it down, and then get there's a little bit of a bend in it. You can just kind of nudge it. Oops. Nudge it over, keep some tension on the back side, and that should end up being fairly straight like that. And I'll bend the wires out. So there, now we've got first row done. Next wire. Straighten it out as much as possible. Small bend at the end. And then gotta get the next cores into the right pocket. So this one here. So there. There. And there. Okay, this orientation will be opposite this one. So pick that up. And then back and forth all the way up. And then that's opposite that one, and it's opposite this one, but it's the same as this one. That's good because the sense wire is going to cut all the way across and through here. That one, gotta twist the wire. Oops. Okay, and yep, these are all opposite the ones next to them. So then I can turn this end down and through. Out of the way. Turn this one, holding this down so it doesn't kink up at the core. Just try to get this one into the hole without kinking it too much. Keep a finger on that. Straighten that out. And once again, so there's a little bit of a kink there. I can just kind of work that out, keeping tension on it and just pushing the wire. That looks good. Next one. Oh, that's right. Get these cores in position. All right, first up, diagonal like this. Making sure that the, oh, see, I got that one wrong. Got to get that oriented the right way. Okay, now we're picking up the pattern correctly again. It's too much of a bend. All right, there we go. Orientation is correct. Twist again. It's easier to just tip that over on this end. All right. Following the pattern. Oh. There we go. Okay, pattern correct. Yes. Pull it through. Tip it back the other way. Catch this one. Yep. Pattern correct. And yes. Push that through. Wiggle this a little bit just to pull it through. Okay. Double checking that pattern. Still looks good. Last one to go. We have a kink in this. That should be okay. Bend on the end. Okay, this one is going to be cut in the corner, so diagonal on the outside. What I mean is this core is oriented like this. Just like that one is this way. And then this core this way, and that core will end up this way. So they all have that alternating pattern all the way across. Okay, keeping the pattern the same way. All right, pattern look good. So when I look down this kind of from a diagonal, I should see all these cores are in line. All these are perpendicular. All these are in line, perpendicular, perpendicular, in line, perpendicular. So that looks good. Hard to get that to go through perfectly straight, not have a little bit of a kink, so you can basically expect to just need to straighten this out. All right, those are all in. So now it's time to solder those just mechanically. Not looking for a electrical joint at this good electrical joint at this time. Now we have a basic grid in place, and I can put a little bit of tension on those to help everything come into position, line up. Heat that one, keep some tension on it, let it cool. little bit of tension. Let it cool. Yeah, there we go. That should look pretty good. Nice and square. All the cores lined up through the middle. All right, now it's time for the sense wire. So back to that piece that was over here, or that we set aside. I'm gonna run, make sure it's all straight, no kinks. I'm gonna start by running it diagonally through here. Oops. So the reason we start here is there's no reason to thread the whole thing through from the beginning. This one can just get kind of pushed back to S1, which is sense wire pin 1. And this is now, it gets a little easier. The Y wires were the most difficult part. I'm sorry, the X wires. This is just a straight pass all the way through these cores, which makes it easier to deal with. Doesn't matter if it goes above or below, it just needs to get through. Wow, it's hanging up on something. All right, well, if you're gonna do that, just cut off the end. Try again. I'm running into the opposite side wall circuit board, so I have to get it up, over. Wow. Double tension. Pull up. There we go. Keep the pressure on that so I can grab it on this side and pull it up out of that pocket. My goodness, that is being difficult. There we go. Up and over. And then down into this new home. Pull that through a little. Rather push it through, then pull. Okay. There we go. So pulled through a little bit. Now we got a nice straight line across here with this one. And this one's going to turn and go loop around through here to this core first. We'll take the opposite end. Run that through this one. And then the next one. So now it's going looping around here, going through this one and through this one. Oh, yep, that one's in. So as I pull this through, I'm going to support the end that's a loop to keep it nice and round. Put my finger on here so it pulls through nice and straight. And as I get towards the end, I'm going to use the end of the tweezers and I'm going to hold this corner as I pull around, kind of using the tweezer end as a bearing. Keep running that in there so that I can get kind of a nice rounded hook around here, but then it turns relatively sharply into this core. Don't want to put a ton of tension on this, just it needs a little bit of room to make the corners and not bind. All right, the next turn is going to be into this core here and go across to this corner. So I'm going to keep the core or the sense wire flat through this diagonal, through this one. All right, you can pull that one. And now what's happened is this is crossed over on itself and kind of is going to twist or kink. So what I'm going to do as I pull this through the rest of the way is I'm going to flip this over so that it's flat like this. Put my finger on there, provide a little bit of friction to help straighten this thing out. And then as before, just going to follow this with the tweezers tip. Not too much tension so that it pulls on this, but just a little bit of tension, and then I can just round that out gently. And that completes a little too much tension there. And that completes this, and it's just kind of a nice rounded arc. Then this one's going to hook back into here. Turn this around this way. And this one's going to go all the way across. Again, this is why that weaving pattern was so important for the cores initially, so that these diagonals end up being nice straight paths for the sense wire. It does not matter if the sense wire goes above or below as I weave it back across here. Just has to pass through the cores. I am going to choose to have all these diagonals go below. The diagonals this way go below the ones that go this direction. And once we get to this corner, this is going to turn and go up to here. But before I do that, I'm going to finish this out. So this one is just going to stay in a nice loop, and I'll do that thing again where I use my finger to hold it and keep it straight as I go till I get close to the end. Then I can come in with the tweezers and help it stay on course. There. Nice gentle bend around the corner and to here. And this one. So I've chosen to go, this diagonal is going to go over the top of the other sense wire. Over the top, through the hole, and pull that across. Trying to keep the wire from snagging on any of the stuff over here. Pull that around, and then we'll do this trick again. There we go. Arc that around, straighten this out. I got that a little too tight, but I can push it back. There we go. Yeah, so that's good. And then home stretch is a turn into this one and up over here to the sense 2 hole. So it's going to want to twist, straighten out the twist just before we pull all the tension out of it. All right, this one's going to go over the top of that sense wire through this core. All right, home stretch. Get the twist out of this. Oh, that was not good. Back up. Okay. Tweezers in here. Hold this. Pull it. Round it out. Looks about right. And then I'll cut and go past the S2 about ½ inch. Going to need the rest of this wire is going to be set aside. We used to put the screen protector on later. And then I can hold this up, run this through the sense 2 wire hole. and pull that. And as I put a little tension on that, I can come in here and just kind of straighten out that wire. Make sure that looks good. And there we go. That's the finished weaving. So now we'll secure that, both ends of that sense wire. Again, this is first of all a mechanical joint. So S1 and then S2 over here. Okay. I don't think I need to tension any of that sense wire stuff. Just need to straighten it out a bit. There are kind of a little tight here. Straighten that. It goes through. Yeah, maybe need to pull a little bit on the S2 end. So I will put some tension on it, heat it up, pull a little bit. There. Oh, whoop, felt that. That wasn't too much. Yeah, that'll do. Nice to try to get these cores in the centers of the pockets. And now it's time to retension everything. Just to help it all get, everything get squared up. I'll go around, put a little tension on all the X and Y wires, both ends. That should bring everything into alignment. I'm also gonna, at this point, I'm gonna rub kind of on the base of the wire gently with the soldering pencil on both sides, trying to break that enamel down. Because now that's making the electrical connection. And you'll notice that the solder actually starts to form a little bit of a meniscus and flow up with the wire when you've broken through that enamel, as opposed to kind of showing some surface tension that's, you know, like away from the wire. Just some gentle tension, gentle rubbing on there. And gentle tension. Sense wire is okay. May even have to let that come back through on the other side, depending on how this looks when I flip it over. Y wires here. Back to the X wires. A little tricky to get in here with the surface mount components right nearby, but do the best you can. Nice thing about these smooth-faced tweezers is they don't let you put a whole lot of tension on the wire. It kind of limits the tension because of how hard you can pull. That's a good thing. Otherwise, you could break these wires off, which would be annoying, but you can overcome it. If you do break a wire, just cut it out from both ends so that you don't pull jagged stuff through the cores, and just pull it out and then take a piece of your scrap wire left over and just work it back through and replace it. Same holds true if you end up breaking a core. Probably have to run a new sense wire, but that's better than breaking more cores. So you'll cut out the sense wire, pull it out carefully. An X and a Y. All right. How is this looking? Try to get these cores centered nicely. A little tricky, but just kind of got to carefully apply a little bit of movement tension in the right corners. If you put if you put the tension in the wrong spot, the cores tend to lock up, kind of bite on the wire. Okay, I think that looks close enough. So now we can actually try it. And we'll see if there's any problems. So plug it in. Power up. Yeah, we got no power. Something strange going on. Power on. Huh. Nothing. Oh, that's odd. Okay, something's not right here. Not sure what's going on. Haven't run into this before. wonder if I shorted something out back here. All right, let's try that again. All right, intermission. So troubleshooting time. When I power this up, I see the symbols look okay. First symbol looks suspicious, but it's supposed to be scrolling text right now in that mode. Hit plus, go back. So that's the scrolling mode. All the LEDs are on, which means none of the cores are being read correctly. And the sense wire is common to all the cores, so it's most likely that there isn't good continuity through the sense wire. And I think that's because I didn't go back and touch those up. So continuity check, shut this back off. And if I just go to the sense wire pad and pad, yeah, I got no continuity there. So I need to touch those up quick. We'll probably bring them alive. So a little more tension again. Actually, I'm not, just very little tension actually. It's just more about rubbing sides of the wires to get the enamel worn away. Down at the base is the best because that's where you want a good connection, because we're going to cut the wire way up higher. All right, so there's S1, let it cool, and then S2. Coming from the outside so I don't accidentally melt one of those LEDs. Okay, yeah, this one does not need more attention. It just needs to be connected. Let's take a look. I pushed a little wire through, which I was kind of hoping would help. I could pull some of this back. Huh. There. That helps. Okay. That probably made the difference we need. Power up. That was it. Looks like all the cores are working. Menu, apps, first app, clear the screen. Select it, then clear the screen, and then draw. Yep, they're all working. Well, that's convenient. Okay, now it's time to cut the excess wire. And we'll make sure that everything still works. it's entirely possible that this will affect how the thing works, because if the enamel isn't worn away down at the base, you'll lose conductivity by cutting off the top part of the wire. But we'll just go back. Gently rub the wires and get that continuity back. Don't need to cut these down super tight. Leave a little bit of, like, try not to cut into the solder. Okay, trimmed it, testing again. Looks good. Yep, it's behaving as expected. Something odd at the beginning here. This is supposed to be a C. Power on again. It's supposed to be a C16. I don't know why that's odd. I'm gonna have to look back or to figure out what's wrong with that in the code. If you have a column that doesn't look correct, correct behavior, it's probably the top or bottom solder joint that needs to be adjusted. If you have a row that doesn't work, it's going to be probably two rows. So the row 0 and row 2 are actually connected together through a trace here. So the signal comes in this end, goes across, trace comes down here, and then it goes back to this end. Same with row 1 and row 3. There's a trace here that connects them. So it's most likely you would have a problem in both of those rows at the same time. Okay, now it's time for the screen protector. Cut 4 wires from the leftovers, about 1 inch long each. And we're gonna form those into kind of a U, gentle U. And drop them through the diagonal, these teeny tiny little holes that are out in the corners. And hopefully didn't plug any of them with solder. Might have plugged that one with solder. Ah, yeah. Might be a reason to have I must have just bodged some solder into that at one point. Use some flux and get that out of there. Or some solder wick. Actually, I don't know if I can get in there. I think I'm gonna skip the solder wick and I'm just gonna go for inserting the wire, and I'll heat the joint at the same time. Okay. So that is this hole. That's gonna be challenging. Okay, wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Loop this over. Put that one through. So try to get that to look mostly nice. Not pulling it down super deep, but it'll be mostly flat across the board. Pull those, bend them out so they don't fall. Doesn't fall back through. Again from the top. Push it down, bend it back. Ah. Push it down, bend back. All right. Now we're going to go, these only need to be mechanical. There's no conductivity through these at all. These are purely for holding a screen protector in place. So I'll touch each one with some solder, then I'll go back and tension them. Ooh. Accidentally touched the XT0 wire. Oh well. Okay, tension them. This will be about the right amount of tension. We'll find out when we flip it over. I'm just putting a little tension on to try to take the slack out and straighten out the wire on the top side. Okay, how do they look? Seen better. This will be okay. Let me try to get underneath that, arc that up. Same with this one. It'll make it easier to get the screen protector in there. Ooh, what's your problem here? That one is way too high. That one might be okay. Okay, this one's got to get more tension. How are we looking now? Much better. No, potentially too much. No, that'll do. Okay, now that those are pulled up, should be able to take the screen protector, put it under this corner, arc it up, put it under that corner, arc it up, put it under this corner, and the final corner. Okay. That does it. Now the screen protector's in. That's good. And does it still work? Okay. Menu, utilities, plus, select. And now we are flux detecting. Cool. It's working. Oh, then the last couple of things are just the SAO and the battery pack. Nothing magical here, just there's a notch on the SAO. The notch goes up by that white mark there. So that'll go in there. Oh, and before you do that, solder in the battery pack into those two little holes. Red is positive, black is minus as usual, but it's easier to solder from the front here before you get this other connector in. That's it.